listens to music first, always.
We are unstoppable.
Open the frontiers to make people meet people.
Music is not fireworks. Music is feeling.
You're good to go.
Thank you, vote for the music!
This is Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.
Hello and welcome back to Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast. I'm Windibank, and today we're back at Melodifestivalen as we have been the last few weeks. So last week we had Heat 3 in Vauxhall, which was a very strong heat, especially compared to the rest of the year so far, I think. We had two final qualifiers there, which a lot of people are calling even potential winners, not just of Melodifestivalen, but of the Eurovision Song Contest 2024. The two songs which got through direct to the final were Jacqueline, Effortless, and Cassiopeia, Give My Heart a Break. Effortless is like full-on 2024 pop perfection, and Cassiopeia's Give My Heart a Break is like nothing we've really had in Melodifestivalen that's been a proper contender in a long time. It's a happy song in major that isn't a schlager. It's just a very well done pop song that's very positive and could be a toasted different vibe to everything else and really work the competition. And then the songs which have gone to the qualifying round, which we'll see in 2 weeks in Heat 5 at the end of that as an extra half an hour. Again, it's a little complicated. It always is with second chance rounds in Melodifestivalen, but the two songs which got there were Cloudy, The Dig, and Gunilla Persson, I Won't Shake La La. Sadly, Clara Klingenström's Aldrig Mer and Kim Kasseron's Take My Breath Away both failed to reach the final. We did speak to Clara Klingenström last week on the podcast. If you want to go back a week, you can hear our interview with her. So obviously, from a personal note from Vote for the Music, we are disappointed that she's out of the competition, but we wish her well and hope we'll see her again one day in the future. Because it was a very good show last week, a very high standard of quality. If some of these songs had been in other heats, I probably would have got through when they didn't, but that's just the way it was. One of the most talked about things was Gunilla Persson, who was one of the contestants, and she got through to the qualifying round. She had a song called I Won't Shake La La Gunilla, all about herself and how she won't shake, and hopefully we'll see her potentially even through to the Melodifestivalen final. Now, while second chance songs or qualifying round songs or whatever you want to call them have not traditionally won Melodifestivalen, it has happened once. In 2013, Hugh became the Swedish entry at the Eurovision Song Contest when it was in Malmö, and that went through Andra Chansen, which at the time was the second chance round, the qualifying round. And that is the only time that's happened. So if it's going to happen again, potentially it could happen when we're going back to Eurovision in Malmö. This week we have our fourth heat in Eskilstuna. Now, traditionally this is the final heat of Melodifestivalen, but this year it's not. It's the penultimate heat because we have another one next week. So the songs we have are Albin Tingwall, Done Getting Over You, Leah Larsen, 30 kilometers an hour, Dotter, It's Not Easy to Write a Love Song, Scarlet, Circus X, Lasse Stefans, En Sung Un Summeren, and Danny Saucedo, Happy That You Found Me. So once again, we're just going to take a look at all these songs one by one, and we'll begin with Albin Tingwall's Done Getting Over You. So this song is sort of your classic Melodifestivalen happy pop song. This is usually the sort of song in Melodifestivalen you might actually hear in Swedish, but we are in English for this one. And it's just a guy singing sort of a produced guitar-y song with a bit of country elements, but mostly very poppy, just about getting over his ex. The way this is staged is very simple. It's got some nice geometric LED graphics, and it has a couple of dancers just coming on with him throughout. But this, for me, looks like it's probably going to get through perhaps to the qualifying round. I'd be very surprised if this was a direct to the final qualifier. But yeah, I think this either will non-qualify or get to that qualifying round. I don't expect big things of this, but it could be a sleeper one. Next is Leah Larsen's 30 kilometers an hour. So if this song isn't a big Melodifestivalen hit, if this doesn't manage to win Melodifestivalen or come very high Melodifestivalen or the final, whatever it is, I think this will still be one of the songs of the summer in Sweden. because this is a banger. It's very fun. It seems to be about a driving culture in Sweden amongst teenagers, where in Sweden you can drive at a younger age if you have a car which can only go at about 30 kilometers an hour, and that's what it's about. And this is a sort of very dancey, very in your face, very melodic though, very sort of almost folk-like, Schlager-esque dance music that a teenager might play in their little old car going at 30 kilometers an hour down the road. And this is staged with Leah Larson on stage with some backing dancers, say very simple LED graphics again, but this is very much about getting the stadium going. This is very much a stadium song and creating atmosphere and party on stage. You could compare this to Medina from a couple of years ago, and they are in next week, so it'll be interesting to see if they both get through, how they might work or complement each other or clash against each other in the final. But I do think this one is one to watch. I think this one will definitely go through to the qualifying round and potentially maybe a direct to the final, but this heat's a bit tricky with direct to the finals for a couple of acts we've got coming up. And one of those acts is song 3, and that is Daughters. It's Not Easy to Write a Love Song. Now, for Melodifestivalen fans, I think you'll be aware of exactly who Dotter is, but she's previously competed in Melodifestivalen 3 times before, in 2018, 2020 and 2021. And most notably in 2023 with the song Bulletproof, which was a big, big success. And it lost the Melodifestivalen final by just a single point to the Mama's Move. And that created a whole swarm of controversy and all the things that came with it, which was ironic considering just a week later the Eurovision Song Contest was cancelled. So it didn't really matter. The next year, she came back and once again ended up 1 point behind the Mamas, although a bit lower down the scoreboard this time. So Dotter is back. She's back to try and represent Sweden on home turf in Malmö. And It's Not Easy to Write a Love Song is very much in the same vein of her previous songs, but it's far more down the sort of ballad side than the pop side. It's got a big pop production, but potentially is far more generic than what she's done in the past. The staging is very inventive, is very new, is fairly unlike things we've seen before. I don't know how best to describe it, but it's all on Steadicam. It centres around a black piano. It's very dark, it's very black focused, and she sort of dances around the piano. And I'll leave the rest as a bit of a surprise for you tomorrow night. But yes, I'll be very surprised considering who Dotter is, considering the staging. That definitely will make you take notice, and considering the fact the song is decent, probably not as good as the other ones, but is decent. I'll be very, very surprised if this does not go directly to the final, and even more bewildered if this somehow non-qualified. So I think it's probably 95% chance of going direct to the final, 5% chance of going to the qualifying round, and let's be honest, 0% chance of non-qualifying. So our next song, Scarlet's Circus X, is a bit of a strange one. It's sort of fusing the genres of gothic metal with your standard Melodifestivalen pop song. And it's quite interesting, but quite unusual. If you're aware of Melody Grand Prix this year, you had acts like Goth Minister who were doing kind of a similar thing, but this is like far more poppier than anything like that. It's a duo, both of them appearing in sort of monster goth makeup, not masks, but makeup. So it's not Lordy, but it is going for the same sort of look as that. But they're two women, probably in their 20s, I'd say, from the look of them, and they're on stage with all the sort of things you'd expect from an act like that on stage. It's red, it's got that gothic metal look to it, but then the song is very melodic. It has sort of heavy guitars in the background, but it has this big sort of hook and riff which is synth, and again it contains sort of that slightly schlagery, slightly folky chorus in there as well, and then blending it with these gothic elements. I think this could very likely go through in the qualifying round. I'm tentative about direct to the final just because of the competition in the semi-final, but I'll be surprised if this one does. This will certainly catch some people, and the fact it can appeal to a rock audience means there will be specific parts of the audience that will vote for it are based on genre alone. However, obviously, I do have concerns over the fact that its blending of genres might be off-putting to certain people, as well as it's not as pure of a rock act as something like Smash Into Pieces was this year, for example. Penultimate song this heat is Lasse Stefans and Song om Sommaren, which is going to the purest sort of Swedish folk band. It's a band of old people singing a folk song. It's got a violin in it. It's sort of staged to be kind of on a farm. So this might go well with the older people, but it sort of eliminates the sort of more schlagery elements you might get in other stuff like this in Melodifestivalen and goes far more towards the folk songs. And I'm not sure in this sort of heat that's going to work. I think like other songs like this, it's probably going to non-qualify this time and be in that bottom two. It's just probably gonna struggle with the competition it's going to face here. So finally, we have Danny Saucedo, Happy That You Found Me. Now, Danny Saucedo is a big name in the history of Melodifestivalen. He came second in both 2011 and 2012. He's also participated before that as part of a group, and he participated in 2021 as well. Now, he's very much an artist of the late 2000s and early 2010s. His most famous music tends to be that sort of EDM, sort of dubstep kind of Swedish sound. Looks like some of the early Avicii songs, like Swedish House Mafia, that type of sound. A sound which was very popular in the early 2010s and basically is just not heard anymore. It's not quite at that nostalgia point. It's just sounds dated now, and I think the biggest issue with this song is the fact that it sounds like Danny Saucedo thinks it's 2013. It sounds like he's doing Melodifestivalen for his third year in a row. It's 2013. He's just done amazing in 2012, came second to Loreen. He's going in 2013 thinking, I'm going to represent Sweden on home turf in Malmö, but he's gone to the wrong Malmö contest. But I think by the time this gets to the Melodifestivalen final, this is going to really struggle. And from the rehearsals, I'm not sure vocally Danny's giving it his all either. Hopefully on the live shows that would improve, but I think based on the rehearsals that I've seen, he's struggling a bit with the songs he's having to sing. But fundamentally, he's one of Sweden's biggest pop stars. He's such an associated name with Melodifestivalen, so I think the issues with the genre, the issues with his vocal abilities probably won't come up in the context of this heat, and he'll probably get quite a safe ride in to the final. When he last participated in 2021, he went for something quite different, something quite developed, something very 2021, which wasn't this style at all, Dandy Dancer, and he managed to get directly into the final. He managed to come sort of mid-table in the final though, and didn't really manage to be a contender for that win. So this is very much like he's going, okay, I need to be the Danny Saucedo people remember from 10 years ago, and potentially that's also going to be a really big issue when it looks like he's trying to win a music competition in 2024, because music has evolved and developed, and he's evolved and developed as an artist. The new music Danny Saucedo releases does not sound like this. So it's very much like he's trying to sort of relive his glory days 11 years older. And I'm not sure that's necessarily going to pay off. But I do think him and Dotter are incredibly likely to be safe direct to the finals just from name and star power. And then I think if I had to really choose it, qualifying round songs are going to be Lea Larson, 30 kilometers an hour, and Scarlet Circus Hex. That unfortunately means Albin Tingwald Getting Over You and Lasse Stefans and Song om Sommaren will probably go out. But we could have a surprise, we could have an upset. Out of Dotter and Danny, I think the most likely of those not to get direct to the final is probably Danny, just considering the fact of the datedness of the song and potentially if there are vocal issues there. But as I say, I really think it's going to be Danny and Dotter direct to the final, Scarlett and Lea qualifying round, Albin and Lasse Stefans out. So there you go. That is your Melodifestivalen roundup for Heat 4 in Eskilstuna. Please tune in for that on Saturday night to see exactly how that all pans out. Next week is the final heat, Heat 5, where we will get acts such as Marcus and Martinez and Medina, both big Melodifestivalen hitters as well. Also, we will get the qualifying round in the last half an hour of that show, where we will get 2 of those qualifying round songs going to the final. So until then, until next week, please enjoy Melodifestivalen and remember to vote for the music.
This is to music first, always.
We are unstoppable.
Open the frontiers to make people meet people.
Music is not fireworks. Music is feeling.
You're good to go.
Thank you, vote for the music!
This is Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.